So Dolores then connected with this lady's higher self within this session to say to the higher self, right, we want full and complete healing for this lady's sight. And the higher self said, no, we can't do that. And Dolores said, why? And they said, because in a past lifetime, in ancient wherever, this lady had been some sort of ruler, and her favourite punishment was to gouge people's eyes out.
Today, I'm chatting with the amazing Nina from Tickety Boom. She's a QHHT practitioner trained in the teachings of Dolores Cannon. We're diving into quantum healing hypnosis techniques, what it is, how it works, and how it helps people connect with their higher self for healing and understanding. It's a fascinating chat that really, really opens your mind. Grab a cuppa and let's get started. Good morning, Nina. Thank you very much for joining me today. How are we feeling?
Morning. I've had a lovely morning, quite relaxed doing a few jobs, but yes, I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're here. Now, you are trained in QHHT, which is actually an interest of mine, and you trained with the same lady that I wanted to train with, or the same method. So, can you explain in simple terms what QHHT is, please?
So QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, and it is a form of past life regression. Some would say probably the deepest method of past life regression, and it was developed by a lady called Dolores Cannon. Lots of people may recognize that name. If you don't recognize the name, I bet if I put a photo up, you'd go, oh, I've seen her on Facebook or YouTube, because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of footage of her over the years in amazing videos that she did at conferences and seminars all over the world about what she did.
I mean, she's fascinating to listen to, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. She was a normal hypnotherapist in the 1960s, and she was married to a gentleman on an army base. I think it might have been a naval base, actually, in the US, and she just practiced normal hypnotherapy there. They asked her one day to help a lady on the base with something, and to do some hypnotherapy treatment with her. And she went back into a past life and started describing a lifetime as a flapper dancer in the 1920s. And this had never happened to Dolores before. She did the normal hypnotherapy, stop smoking, lose weight, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, she was transported to this lady talking about this lifetime, and found it quite amazing. Anyway, she did further sessions with this lady, and this is where her first book came from, which is 5 Lives Remembered.
Yeah.
And the work developed from there and broadened from there to include further guidance from a higher wisdom that also started coming through in the sessions that we call the higher self, or Dolores named it the subconscious, but it's not the subconscious in the Freudian sense of the word, like a psychologist may use it. It was her name for the higher self. And so this method then develops into the most profound technique that some might argue is like the gold standard of past life regression. Very different to classic past life regression, which may just take, a couple of hours to do with a hypnotherapist. But a quantum healing hypnosis technique session, well, for me anyway, takes about 7 or 8 hours. So it's a full day Dolores used to do her sessions anywhere from 5 hours onwards. But she said they take as long as they take, and I'm of the same mindset. The client is there for the day. I am there for them for the day, and it takes as long as they need to be able to get what they want or need out of a session. So they're fascinating.
Yeah. So are they under for that length of time?
No, so it's split into 3 sections. So clients will arrive at 10 o'clock. I always start them at 10 o'clock, and then we will do what we would call an interview. So we're just chatting, we're just getting to know each other. That can last for 2 hours, sometimes up to 4 hours. Again, I go with the client and I'll find out everything about their life. So I need to understand the client so that I can support them during the hypnosis. So we can start at the beginning, what was your childhood like, all the way through to what is it that they want to achieve? What was the reason for them coming to see me that day for a QHHT session? We like to understand the cast of characters, as Dolores likes to call it. So Dolores would describe a lifetime as just being a play, a means to an end of learning lessons and achieving things in our soul journey, which is much bigger than this lifetime. It's lots of lifetimes together. So you have to look at it like as a bigger picture. So we would find out about the cast of characters that have incarnated in this life with you, that usually the ones closest around you, that will be there to either support you or challenge you in your lifetime to be able to learn the lessons that you've chosen to learn before you come here. And we find out if there is any health conditions in this lifetime, because as Dolores says, nobody is supposed to be ill. And so there is always a reason. Generally, I could probably give you 3 reasons as to why you may have what Dolores would call dis-ease in your life. So it could be that the messages from your higher self or your guides to go in a direction that you need to fulfill your path. So there may be something that you're not listening to. And so they're prompting you with little nudges to start off with and to change direction. And they may get louder if they're not listened to. It may also be that health things pop up in your life because actually they're residual trauma from a previous life.
Yeah.
Or it could be due to karmic reasons that you have something in this life. And that means, there's usually not as much that you can do with those things because it will be something that you've agreed to experience in this life to potentially balance a karmic debt from a previous lifetime. And I can give you examples of those. So I'll do that now, actually. Otherwise, I might go off piste and not forget that. So for example, there's a really famous session that Dolores did with a lady who came to her that was born blind and said that she wanted Dolores to heal her sight. Which, believe it or not, is potentially doable by somebody as amazing as Dolores.
Really?
That she achieved some amazing things that you could only describe as miracles.
Yeah.
And go away and find out about those sorts of things. But this lady came to her that was born blind, and there's 2 parts to the hypnosis part. Which usually lasts about 3 hours. So we do the interview part at the beginning, which is 2 to 4 hours. Then we have a lunch break. Then we're in the hypnosis part, which is about 3 hours. The first half is going into past lifetimes, but it's not necessarily past. It could be past, parallel, future, alternate, in between lives, the astral realm, and other experiences as well. But then halfway through the hypnosis, then we invite the higher self to join us. And this is what differentiates QHHT from classic past life regression, because this is where we connect with the highest part of you. So if you imagine your soul as being absolutely huge, because apparently they're absolutely huge, and it can't all fit in your body. So I explain it as a soul shard fits in there, just a bit of it. And the rest of it is outside of you, and everybody's bubbles overlap. And so that's what you would call collective consciousness, because all of that wisdom is being passed along. So that's the bit that we're tapping into. And that's the bit that knows stuff that you in your soul shard right here don't know. Yeah. So we ask lots of questions to that. So it's a long-winded way round, but Dolores...
All right, I love it. Done.
So it's so that everybody understands it as I go on. So Dolores then connected with this lady's higher self within this session to say to the higher self, right, we want full and complete healing for this lady's sight. And the higher self said, no, we can't do that. And Dolores said, why? And they said, because in a past lifetime, in ancient wherever, this lady had been some sort of ruler, and her favourite punishment was to gouge people's eyes out.
No way.
Yes way.
No.
Yeah. So that was a karmic reason that that issue couldn't be resolved, because, and it's not about punishment. And so people have to get out of their mindsets that karma or karmic things are punishments, because they're not. So lifetimes, there's no right or wrong. It's all about experiences. And so that lady will have actually chosen to have returned in this lifetime without her sight as an experience to balance that karmic debt and to experience lifetime without sight. Because obviously it was taken from so many in that previous lifetime. So that's a karmic reason. I did a session with a lady a couple of weeks ago who came to me wanting to understand why she was type 1 diabetic.
I've got the 2.
Have you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, Julia Cannon, who's Dolores Cannon's daughter, wrote a book with Dolores when she was alive, called Soul Speak, The Language of the Body, which gives like generalized reasons from like thousands of QHHT sessions across the world as to why somebody might have a health condition. And I'll give you some generalized reasons now, but they're not always the exact reason. And again, you'd find that in a session from the higher self. But generalized reasons would be like somebody's got a problem with their foot or their leg or their knee. They're not moving forward in the right direction potentially in life. And depending on what side it's on, will be potentially where it comes from. So apparently everything on the right is to do with now, and everything on the left is to do with the past. So say somebody had something wrong with their leg on their left, what is it they're not moving from forward from in the past? And then if somebody has got eye problems, potentially, and again, these are the generalized reasons, but you would find out exactly what it is. What is it that they maybe don't want to see in their life? What is it that they don't want to see or look at? What is it that they're avoiding seeing? If they've got hearing issues, what is it that they don't want to listen to? What are they not listening to in this life? But this particular lady, so again, I've gone around the houses to come back again. This particular lady who came for a session a couple of weeks ago with type 1 diabetes, she wanted to understand why she had type 1 and why it just popped up in her 20s.
Yeah.
Just popped up there. And so her higher self obviously knew that that was the intention for the session, because I don't decide where any of my clients go. I don't take them to a particular time period in time or anything like that. They go wherever they are meant to go. So the higher self is obviously with you all the time. They know your intention. They know that, you know, what it is that you're wanting to understand. So you will go where you are meant to go. So this lady went straight into a lifetime as an 18-year-old boy. And to me, it looked very much like it was potentially around the Georgian era from what he was wearing. So he was wearing black shoes with the square metal buckle, with the white tights, you know, the white tights with the, you know, the cropped embroidered gold trousers, with the white puffy shirt and the white powdered wig, with the little black bow at the back, you know, like they did. That's kind of like Georgian kind of era. And he was sword fighting with his brother, or playfully, like not like they weren't angry with each other or anything like that. They were sword fighting on a hill underneath a tree, with a grand manor house in the background, you know, that sounded like it looked like a Downton Abbey kind of place. You know, obviously very wealthy in this lifetime. And anyway, during the fight with his brother, who was in his early 20s, my client was stabbed by accident. So in the next scene, the footman comes with the black horse and carriage, and his brother and the footman carry him into the back of the carriage and lay him on the back bench seat in the carriage, and the brother sits on the bench opposite looking very concerned, and the footman's outside driving the carriage, you know, like they do, you know, sat up on the front. They pull up outside the big manor house, and the mother is on horseback. She must have been for a morning ride and just returned or something, in a big purple dress. And she gets down, and it's all a big kerfuffle, obviously, because of, you know, this is like panic. The footman and the brother then carry my client up the grand steps into the hall with the big black and white checkerboard floor. With the big grand sweeping staircase, and they carry him up to a bedroom with a 4-poster bed and the beautiful heavy gold curtains and the big red carpet rug, you know. I'm asking questions constantly because I'm trying to figure out the time period, and and I'm visualizing it as well, like, you know, while my client is under and talking to me, because this is all coming out of their mouth, just to clarify that. I'm not reading anything. I'm a hypnotherapist. So I hypnotize people, and they're talking to me the whole time. And all I'm doing is what Dolores would describe as being like the investigator, the journalist, and asking the right questions to be able to get the information out and get the best outcome for the client with like all the knowledge and wisdom and everything. So anyway, so they lay my client then out on the bed, on this 4-poster bed, and then the doctor arrives, and the room was full of servants, and he was one of 5 siblings. So he had a little 7-year-old brother, an 11-year-old sister, then he was 18, then a early 20s brother, and a 27-year-old sister. There was like a big gap there, but there was quite a few of them. So the room was full of people. The doctor shooed everybody out, and my client's father was there, and we didn't quite know what was going on. So we were earwigging on a conversation between the father and the doctor. So the father said to the doctor, "Will he be okay?" And the doctor had stitched my client up and put a bandage over him, and said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I think so. But he just needs to rest." Anyway, more stuff happened that evening, but to cut a long story short, he died.
Oh.
I know. He died that night, and it was strange because the higher self just took us in on the last day. It's like the rest of the lifetime wasn't relevant. It was simply to ask
that part.
Yeah, just went in on the last day, and that can happen, because it was to answer the question. where did her diabetes come from? So my first question to the higher self, when I then invite them in after the lifetime bit, and we've explored, the bit after she's died a bit, which is always nice. My first question is always, why did you show them that lifetime or those lifetimes?
Yeah.
They do between 1 and 3. And the higher self said, because she was stabbed in the pancreas.
Right, I was trying to figure out where's this going. Why have we got diabetes from being stabbed? Right, the pancreas. Right.
Yes, which is where you make insulin, obviously, for
Yeah.
everybody who's listening to this that's not quite clear on that. So, yes, now they also explained that there was also emotional reasons on top of it as to why the diabetes had manifested in this life, to do with trust issues, not trusting people in that life and this time as well. So it was all kind of intermingled into the reason. But yes, so that's an example of how issues can be brought through in this lifetime. There was another session with a lady that I did over 12 months ago who's got a skin condition called PXE, which looks like burnt skin, and she's got eczema on top of it, which is really, which was, because it's gone now. Yeah. Well, not the PXE, because that's like it's a change in how the texture of the skin. But the eczema, she used to have to wear really strong steroid cream. It used to drive her nuts. But in the session that she was shown, she was in an explosion in Vietnam where she was a soldier.
Right.
So he survived it. He lived his full life, but with bad burns.
Right.
Which he hated the look of. And so she then came into this life with this PXE in exactly the same place as the burns. So all over her neck, chest, and the fronts of her arms, which is where the burns were in the previous lifetime, and the eczema. So yeah, it's really fascinating. But we were able to achieve healing for my client with the eczema, and it's totally gone now.
Right.
So if it's appropriate, obviously it's not necessarily for karmic reasons, like I explained before with Dolores's example of the lady that was born blind. But for other reasons, it's potentially achievable to either to achieve some level of healing, but only if only if the higher self, only if it's for reasons, say, where it's not actually supposed to be here in the first place because it's from somewhere else. But if there is something that the client is supposed to be learning from this in this lifetime, and they are not, say they've repeated the same lessons throughout lifetime of not listening to something. So say it was an issue with their leg because they weren't moving forward in the right direction, but they kept refusing to do that. The higher self may not necessarily agree to do healing at that point, or may assist to some level, but will then advise during this hypnosis how that client then can continue the healing to heal themselves, because that's ultimately what it's all about. Yeah. It's about us healing ourselves by living the life that we're supposed to be living, going in the direction we're supposed to be going, completing what we're supposed to be learning, and then there is no necessity to have these messages given to us. So yeah, so it's really, really fascinating. That's like the healing side of it, but there's so much more that can come out of it. People can understand what direction they're supposed to be going in their lives, get advice on how to move forward in challenging relationships in their lives, maybe what career they're supposed to be doing. Questions like, am I a star seed? What's my galactic? Oh,
yeah. I will just ask you about that. So do you ever get like the ETs, the other beings? Do you ever get any of them through in your sessions? Hi, I'm just taking a quick break to thank you all so much for listening to the podcast and for all your lovely support. If this episode gave you something to think about or simply felt helpful, you can support future episodes and my tea habit over at Buy Me a Coffee. The link is buymeacoffee.com/guide to spirituality. Every little bit helps me keep creating, sharing and growing this space, and I'm truly grateful. You know, the ETs, the other beings, do you ever get any of them through in your sessions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I've done a session on Mars. That was interesting.
Really?
Yes. And had the most amazing session with a Pleiadian.
Did you?
Yes. So that was
I mean, don't start gatekeeping now. Let's tell us all about.
So the session with the Pleiadian was it's actually one of my most favorite ones, and it wasn't a past life of my client. It was an alternate soul shard of hers who, and this gets quite complicated. So they knew that they were speaking to my client and me, and they were giving my client advice.
Okay.
And I had to sort of figure all of this out throughout the session because it looked like we were potentially going back into my client's past life. But yeah, it was like another aspect of her. So anyway, so what happened was, and this is all to do with the shift that's happening at the moment. That's why I love it so much. And for anybody that's listening to this that's not aware of the shift, so or is wondering what that is, there's a shift in consciousness happening across the world at the moment, and lots of people are feeling that you may look at the world now and think, oh, it's gone really crazy.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of very strange things happening at the moment, and it's because there is the realization of timelines all happening at the same time, new ones and old ones. And the shift is to raise the consciousness and the frequency and the vibration of humanity. And the session that I did with the Pleiadian explains how they've tried to do it before, thousands of years ago, and failed back then, which I also have heard from other places, but it was amazing to hear it myself in this session. And Dolores' work talks about this as well, such as in 2012, Dolores and many other practitioners across the world talked about one of the shift kind of really being a bit more noticeable at that point, because before that point, people who were put under hypnosis would have more of the knocked out feeling, where they wouldn't have much or any remembrance of going under in a session. And then practitioners across the world in 2012, including Dolores, started reporting that there was a lot more awareness with people in sessions. So people shouldn't have any expectations of feeling a certain way in a session and, oh, well, I still feel like I'm aware, so this isn't working. Well, no, yeah, there is a lot more awareness, and it's because of this shift in vibration. So anyway, let me get into the Pleiadian, because I think that's what people want to hear about. So we went into this scene, and what I thought was her was this, she was describing herself, well, it is her, yeah, as this woman in Egypt. And she was stood in like a big sort of open, grounded sort of courtyard area. I say that by describing that it was flanked on all sides by buildings. It was like a very, very large open courtyard kind of area. And to one side on the right was like an elevated area where there was a queen sat. of Egypt. And there was all these Egyptian soldiers sort of milling around in their little, little skirts. And they were just in conversation. And what I understood was that they were waiting for the king to arrive. She described him as a king. Whether that would be described these days as a pharaoh, I don't know, or whether it was a king before the time of pharaohs, like, I've no idea, but like as a king that was going to arrive. And that she was there to deliver a message. So I got her to describe herself, and she was, slender with long dark hair, big green eyes, wearing something quite simple, but wearing a glowing blue bracelet. And that's when I thought, hang on, that doesn't sound like normal Egyptian attire. So I asked what this glowing blue bracelet was. And anyway, that's when we sort of got more into it. It was the method that she used to transport herself to different times.
Really?
Yes. And so this was like her first solo mission. And it was to deliver a message to the king. And it's because there was civil unrest at the time. So, as we know, the kings and the pharaohs seemed to be gatekeepers to the wisdom and didn't share it with people. There's the thought school out there that the Egyptian wisdom came from higher consciousnesses, higher beings. Some may say different realms, dimensions, or even planets, however you like to think about that. And that it was that the rulers of Egypt were maybe at one time those beings themselves, and then obviously it became watered down as we get towards present day. But there was an uprising at this time, a civil uprising, because they were gatekeeping this wisdom and wanted that shared. So I moved forward a little amount of time to where the king arrived, and all of the soldiers then were lined up in this big piazza, courtyard. It was huge. So there was like hundreds of them all lined up in neat rows and everything. And the king was delivering a message, a big speech, to the army to basically squash the civil uprising.
Right.
And I asked my client how she was going to deliver this message. Did she have it on a scroll or something? What was it? And no, she said that it would be transferred by simply eyesight. But she had to catch his eye. So she moved her way through the soldiers and got within a few meters. And I said, "Is the king aware of your race?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Does the king know who you are?" And she said, "No, not personally, but he can sense that I'm here. He's trying to avoid my eye contact as he's delivering his speech, but she says, I'm very beautiful. It's going to be difficult for him to resist." And then he looked at her. She looked at him and she says, "It's done." He's received the message. He starts faltering in the delivery of his message to the army. But she said, ultimately, it's like they won the battle, but they lost the war. It didn't work. So it was to deliver more of a message of unity, to bring unity, but they still gatekeeped, and ultimately it didn't work. So I then moved my client, and this is what I do in the hypnosis sessions, is I will move the client to different points throughout their life so that I can get an overview of the whole lifetime and how that worked out for them. So I moved my client forward in the same lifetime thinking she was just going to go to a later time in Egypt.
Yeah.
You'd think. And all of a sudden, she was in the same lifetime, but she'd gone to a different time in that same lifetime with a bracelet. She was at a Hitler rally.
Really?
Yes. And I was amazed. And she was the same person with the same blue bracelet, but dressed appropriately in clothes of the time. And she was stood about 8 rows back at a Hitler rally in Germany. She described it, like you see the black and white films where he's raised on a platform with the flags, with his the colonels and stuff standing around. And she said that the rally had thousands of people there, and she said that the energy was like electric there, with all of the people, men, women, children, and he was delivering this message to the crowd of hate. And I said, well, what are you there to do this time? She says, I'm there to do the same thing, to try again, because they tried thousands of years ago and it failed. And she said, we're trying again now. And I said, well, how will you do this? And I said, will you do it the same way to Hitler? And she said, no, this time I'm here to do it to the crowd and to deliver the message to the crowd. And I said, well, how will you do that? And she said, just my energy, just by being here, it will affect the crowd and they will leave doubting the message that they've heard today.
Okay.
Questioning the message that they've heard today. So I just thought that was absolutely fascinating. And then obviously I continued to have a very fascinating conversation with the Pleiadian about all sorts of stuff. But it was basically to say that the shift in consciousness that's happening now, that is actually, we're getting to the tipping point of being able to achieve that, is happening. But it was tried a long time ago and didn't quite work out the same way. So yeah, that was a really mind-blowing session.
You see, just going back there, when you said about she would do it with the energy to cause doubt, do you know what? Straight away I thought, there's people like that now. There's people like that now that just question or just put something in there and everybody goes, actually. So I wonder if actually, obviously they're still trying to do it. They're still trying to raise the vibration, still try to raise the energy. And I wonder if people are, you see, I did some research. I once listened to some light language, and to be honest with you, I couldn't tell you I understood it. I can't say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but my inner self, my higher self knew it well. I felt like, yeah, I get that. But I couldn't tell you what it said. It just felt right.
It's frequency, isn't it? It's like it's at a soul level.
And then when I did some sitting with spirit and one thing and another, they brought me Andromeda. So like from the Andromeda from Andromeda. Yeah. Try to tell you it's what I'm actually telling you. Which were really interesting. But I just wonder, I know that, there's all sorts of work going on to try and sort this world out.
Yeah.
And I just, it's obviously been going on for a long, long time. It's been, and it'll go on for a long time more. It's never gonna be fixed in a few months, is it? It's never gonna be done quick. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does. And I think that there's been so many resets.
That's it.
Throughout time, and then obviously the other timelines. Yeah, it's happened a lot.
Yeah. Do you record your sessions then?
Yes. So every session is recorded and the client receives that usually within 48 hours, because I obviously have to edit the bits off where I do the induction. Otherwise they'll be re-hypnotizing themselves again when they listen.
Interesting.
So yeah, so I do that. And then after we've done the hypnosis, I then do like an hour's debrief with them.
Yeah.
So because there are still some people that have no recollection, not very many, or it might be a bit bitty, or yeah, well, we just go through the session and what happened and the answers and the questions and things like that. And if they want to, ask any questions, and I make sure that they're obviously fully comfortable to be able to leave the house, because it's tiring and they may feel a little bit.
Think you've gone through a big session there, haven't you? It's a lot big.
Yeah. So we do that. And do you know what? We have a lovely day together.
Yeah.
They are absolutely lovely. I thoroughly enjoy doing sessions with people. And even the interview part at the beginning of the day, people can come just for that bit on its own.
Yeah.
That in itself can be so therapeutic, so healing, because how many how many opportunities do people get to talk about their whole life, like in one go?
Yeah.
You don't, do you? And very often the client is able to find their own realizations, or sometimes with my support, um, to be able to connect the dots to maybe why certain things happen the way that they have in their life, or where there might be patterns, that are repeating, that they might not have noticed before. So sometimes that part in itself can be brilliant without even doing the hypnosis. So then when we do the hypnosis, and obviously we do the past lives bit and then the higher self bit, and then we do the debrief at the end, it's just a wonderful day. It's one, and if you look at my testimonials, the sessions, they can literally transform people's lives. But there's so many other things that you can achieve in sessions. Recently, what's been happening quite a lot is connecting people with past over loved ones.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. So I've had some really, really sad cases of clients who've lost people who have taken their life, or who have lost people, partners who are really young, and they want to ask questions and find out, why that happened the way that it did. And in some cases, not always, because sometimes the higher self will say it's going to be too upsetting,
Too much. Yeah.
too much for the client, or sometimes the spirit on the other side is doing something else. But sometimes it is appropriate, and a loved one may potentially come through directly in the session, and that's just been so lovely to be able to do for people. Yeah, did a lovely, lovely one the other week. Really lovely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there anybody you can't hypnotize? So is there anybody that can't, like I know when you see them on, like, I don't know, when you go to Blackpool and you see it show and there's people that can't be hypnotized. Is it the same like this? Or is it more that you're not trying to get them under, you're just trying to get them to relax?
So, QHHT works in the deepest level of trance, which is the somnambulistic state of trance, or the theta brainwave state. Now, it's a perfectly natural state. Everybody goes there twice a day anyway, just before they fall asleep and just before they wake up. So Dolores says everybody can be hypnotized, but yes, there are some people who are more resistant. And Dolores would call them Mr. Stupid. The left brain gets involved. She wouldn't call them Mr. Stupid. It's that their left brain, the analytical part of their brain, gets involved and questions everything too much. And she would call that part of the brain Mr. Stupid. Would be getting involved. So really we want to be working in the right side of the brain, which is more creative, and not when people have expectations about how they think a session is supposed to go.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be completely unaware. I'm supposed to be seeing it like this. I'm supposed to be seeing it like that. you can create like blockages for yourself to be able to just experience it however you're supposed to be experiencing it. So some people can be more challenging. And so I always like to prepare people before they come. So if they're not a meditator already, I will direct them to going on YouTube and looking at the Honest Guys. I love the Honest Guys meditations. So anybody wants that tip, if you want some really good meditations, they're really good, aren't they? So they've got 10-minute ones all the way up to 8-hour sleep ones. So I say go and listen to some of those, but especially the guided visualization ones, because we want to get you into a place where you can practice how to do that, and that will get you into the place where we want to work. So yeah, there are people that are more challenging. There are ways to work with those clients because not everybody is a visual person. So you've got all of your other senses as well. You've got feeling, hearing, you've even got knowing. So to always say the first answer that pops into your mind sometimes, because you're connecting, directly with your higher self, that might be how I would work with somebody who found it more challenging. But usually the person is no problem. They're straight under. They are there in the lifetime. I mean, sometimes, when I say look around you, they've got their eyes closed, but they're actually, they're actually looking around them like this. Oh, there's some soldiers running down the beach towards me, Yes, they are there, and when I say look down at your feet and describe them to me, they go like this.
Yeah. That's interesting.
They're lying on the bed. So usually, they're there.
Yeah.
But so yeah, sometimes the people that do find it more challenging, if you're supposed to have a session, you're supposed to have a session.
Yeah.
If you need to work on being able to let things go to be able to ease that connection, and maybe that's something that needs to be worked on.
I love that.
Yeah.
Have you ever done can you do yourself?
No, I can't do myself. But I have got lots of QHHT practitioner friends that can do me.
So have you ever done it?
Yeah.
Where were you? What have you done? What were your past lives? Tell me. I'm proper at this. I love it.
So if you go onto any of my channels, you'll notice a lot of Egypt videos.
Right.
So I went on a tour of Egypt in May with one of the most famous world-renowned QHHT practitioners, Sarah Breskman Cosme, who usually does the tours with Suzanne Spooner, another world-renowned level 3 practitioner. She couldn't actually go in the end, though, because Suzanne Spooner couldn't, because her daughter was about to give birth to one of her grandbabies. So another lady went to support Sarah Breskman Cosme instead, which is Christy Wilson, the historic healer. Now, I love Sarah Breskman Cosme's books. Buy them, read them. They're absolutely amazing about information that she's found out in her sessions. And she does a tour twice a year of Egypt. And I just had to go on this. When I found out about this tour in June 2024, it's like, I am meant to go on that tour.
Oh, yeah.
I need to go on that tour, and I booked it, and it was this May, so May 2025. Yeah. And there was 40 other people joining the tour, so I didn't know any of them. And it was literally 2 weeks jam-packed to see every single pyramid, temple, including flying to Aswan, including a 3-night Nile cruise. Like, we literally went everywhere. And I had to go there because I have always been obsessed with Egypt. And I just knew I had past lives there. And I found out actually just before I went in a session that yes. So as a priestess for Horus.
Really?
Yeah. And do you know what? You see this ring here?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this, for those people who are listening to it that can't see this ring that I'm wearing, I have a beautiful silver hawk's head ring. And I bought this 7 years ago for my 40th birthday. Oh, I'm giving away my age. Well, so Horus is the falcon god. So yeah, you could say that this is a falcon. And I bought this 7 years ago. It's a Thomas Sabo ring. I saw it and I was just like, oh my God, I have to buy that ring. But I didn't know why. Until the beginning of this year when I did a session and I went back as a priestess of Horus. And then I was like, oh my God, that's why I bought that ring, because there was obviously some sort of memory there of it, along with the fascination of Egypt. But yes, it was an absolutely incredible trip, and I'm still making content from it actually.
Yeah.
So I've made it.
When I looked on the other day, there was something about you were in Egypt. I thought, oh, she's in Egypt there. Look, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a reel that I've made with talks that Sarah Bressman Cosme did within my reels for every single place that I visited from a spiritual perspective. So we're not talking, archaeologically, and this timeline. We're talking the frequency of the places, the vortexes, other dimensional aspects of these sites. So Sarah will talks about those in the videos, and yeah, I'm still making them. I've still got all the content that I'm still making videos of. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah. So yeah. So
it's been amazing to talk to you today. I've right enjoyed myself. So if somebody's looking and thinking, do you know what? I want a session of this. Where we're going to find you? Because I tell you what, I'm coming for the session.
So all my socials, so I'm on literally everything. My biggest page is currently my Instagram, but I'm growing my TikTok. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, and it's Tickety Boom Quantum Healing. And I've also got a website which has got so much information on. So that's ticketyboom.co.uk. Go there and have a look. Yeah, there's tons of information out there.
Oh, honestly, I've been right enjoying myself. And we are going to have to do a part 2, though, because I feel like I've got about another 48,000 questions to ask you, because the more you say something, more I'm like, oh, right, yeah.
There's so much to it. So it's just so much to it. So yeah, I'd be delighted to come back and have another chat. If everybody else agrees, let us know. Do you want me?
Not bothered about everybody else. I want to know more. Telling you. Oh, no, that's been amazing, Nina. Thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks so much for inviting me. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me, Stacey Bauer, on Guide to Spirituality podcast. If you enjoyed this chat, feel free to follow, share, or leave a review. It really helps. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and keep showing up for you. See you next time.